fractionné et intolérant.
Israel has been saying for months that members of UNRWA, the United Nations Palestinian Relief Agency, had taken part in the October 7th Hamas-led massacre in southern Israel. Now, a UN investigation admits that there is sufficient evidence that 9 UNRWA staff members, quote, may have taken part in the attack. But in the same breath, the agency's probe cleared 10 other accused workers.
Now, we have found, out of those 19, that in 10 cases, there's either no information or insufficient information to support the allegations of their involvement in the October 7th attacks. The 9 for whom there is sufficient information will be terminated, and that of course includes some who had been terminated earlier as in the immediate aftermath of the reporting.
While the dismissals proves Israel's accusations, Gilad Erdan, Israel's ambassador to the UN, says this is insufficient.
The UN investigation, which focused exclusively on 19 UNRWA workers, is a disgrace. Too little and too late. The investigation ignored the thousands of agency employees involved in the terrorist activities of Hamas and the scope of the involvement. Israel has provided the UN with precise details of over 100 UNRWA employees who are members of the terrorist organization Hamas. Despite the cooperation and information that Israel passed on to the UN, the conclusions of the investigation are another insult to the UN, which still refuses to recognize the reality.
But the UN says that Israel has yet to hand over proof of the Palestinian aid agency's involvement.
One thing I'd like to point out is that since information used by Israeli authority officials to support the allegations have remained in Israeli custody, OIOS was not able to independently authenticate most of the information provided to it.
Back in January, Israel asserted that 7 UNRWA members had taken part in the October 7th onslaught, and later that month, UNRWA fired an unspecified number of staffers. The 9 employees that the UN announced had sufficient information for termination had been already included in the January dismissal. In the weeks that followed Israel's allegations, numerous donor states suspended some $450 million in funding to UNRWA, though many have since resumed its funding to the agency. In March, Israel stepped up its claims by saying that 450 UNRWA staffers were operatives in Gaza's terrorist groups. Throughout the Israel-Hamas war, the IDF has found weapons hidden in UNRWA institutions and what the IDF says is a Hamas command center under UNRWA's headquarters. But while the UN released a separate report recently finding, quote, neutrality-related issues in UNRWA, it said that Israel had yet to provide evidence that a significant number of its staff were members of the terrorist organizations.